trusting and believing isn't just about the resurrection. It's about whether or not we see and believe, whether we believe that God is working for our salvation or not, whether he is conquering the grave or not, whether he hears all of our cries against the brokenness of this world and all of the ways in which it is broken or not. The centurion's faith isn't that he knew all things or understood all things or was more righteous than others or could win a religious debate with an atheist. His faith was amazing because he believed that if Jesus said it, if Jesus promised it, it would happen. Right? Do you remember how he says it? Just say the word. His faith was that it would be done. Now we're called to be a people who don't need to see signs and wonders to believe. A people who believe even though we can't see everything we've ever asked for being granted. Even though God doesn't act on our prayers as obviously as a genie in the bottle. There's evidently some kind of blessing in being the kind of people who come to know and love and trust God enough that they see with the eyes of faith that he is working for the good of those who love him and the salvation of the world. We're called to be a people who are blessed by knowing that God hears us and answers us, even if his ways are bigger and his thoughts are better and his work more wonderful than we can imagine. Maybe sometimes what we're asking for is too small. After all of the people that he healed died, right? Both the people in this story are not still alive. Healing from sickness didn't save them from death, and death is what God has conquered. Marriages being rescued doesn't prevent people from experiencing loneliness and despair, but God has conquered loneliness and despair. We don't always know what God is up to, but if we know him, if we know who he is and what he cares about, then we can trust that he is working for the good, even for us, even when we don't understand, even when we're asking for the wrong things, and even when our minds are too small to get the big picture. God's will be done. But it is his will that his people turn to him in faith and prayer. It's his will that his people care about justice and brokenness and sickness and hunger. It's his will that his people love their neighbors and friends and are concerned about them, that his people will have their hearts burning at the thought of their sin and their souls just on fire to share the good news that they found in Jesus. It's God's will that his will be done on earth, in part through us asking, interceding for the good things of God to be known. Whatever you're struggling with or praying about, for something within God's will or something that is more like your will, if you've turned to God, you've come to the right place. God is God. He is in control, and he is good, and his will is perfect. You may even be receiving an answer to your prayers right now. Maybe you don't want to accept it or even hear it. Or you prayed, but we haven't waited for God's response. So when we look for God's answer, we don't look only for what we want. We look with eyes and ears that don't need signs and wonders, but that can see and hear in faith.